If you're launching a business in Brazil, it's because you believe in it. And if you believe in it, you have to invest. Everybody has had their eyes in Brazil.
When everyone else will be in line, in queue, just for waiting
Yep.
some approval, you will be working there with an audience.
People are actually afraid of giving constructive feedback.
Honest feedback. Constructive is like the second part, but give me at least honest, yeah?
I don't think there's a school or a university that will get you an iGaming degree. You have to have a life. High performance it's very important. It's the goal. It's where everybody wants to be. But you exist as a person as well.
So Thomas, you have an experience of 12 years in iGaming, and you worked with the different companies and you helped them to build up different products. Could you please tell a bit more about yourself, first of all, and who you are as a person that are so successful in the business that you're doing?
Thank you very much, Igor. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Yeah. Of course, my name is Thomas Carvalhaes, born and raised in Brazil. Very small, tiny town in the state of Minas Gerais. Although I'm 100% Brazilian, born and raised, all my education was in Brazil. There's an important part of me that I tell everyone when I have a chance, which is that I lived in South Africa, in Cape Town, for 10 years. You know, and the reason why I mentioned that is that this has a very special, if not a key, vital importance in me joining the whole iGaming industry. Who else am I? I'm a São Paulo Football Club fan. You know, I support São Paulo. My academic background is in linguistics. Although I never worked in the area, I've studied to be a teacher or a linguistics professional. And yeah, I've been in gaming for 12 years, and thank you very much for the flattering word. I appreciate it. We try. You know, Brazil has been an interesting market for a very long time. Everybody has had their eyes in Brazil, although now it feels like it's much more intense.
Yes.
With the recent regulations. But I remember as well, if I look back 10 years ago, at my very early stages in the industry, Brazil was already a big topic. And I think it's going to continue being. I think we got to work hard. Of course, I appreciate the words. But I mean, like myself, there's so many professionals out there, people that have been in the game for much longer than me. And it's just a pleasure to be around them and around companies that are pushing this forward.
And how your mindset changed, or how any details in, like I can say details in Brazilian market changed yourself during these 12 years? I mean, you saw different type of gambling in this region. I mean, different type of gambling. From non-official black market to regulated market. What was the process of these changes?
Yeah, it was a very interesting process. Very organic in another way. If I can tell you this, because it's amazing that we have a regulated market now, and kudos to the government, to SIGAP, to SPA for making it happen finally. It's been a very, very long way. However, one thing I must say as well, as much as we give credit to whom credits are due, the iGaming market, the betting market in Brazil has grown so much throughout the years that it has literally imposed itself. As in, it got to a point the government couldn't just ignore it anymore. Because, I mean, from 2018, when the sportsbook law was enacted, was signed by a presidential decree where they made sportsbook legal in Brazil. Not regulated, but it was made legal. It was even a bigger boom, you know. But back then already, I remember seeing so many operators from all around the world pushing their business into Brazil. And one thing I can tell you, this is my perspective. Although Brazilians were fairly good at soccer lately because I mean our soccer team kind of sucks, and I gotta admit to that. And we're not the Brazil we used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But my point here is, although we're big soccer enthusiasts, I feel we're much more superstitious
Mm-hmm.
than sports punters.
I see.
If you look at it closely, it's very rare to find a Brazilian that actually knows how to bet on sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, in a lot of ways, betting on sports is a bit of a skilled game as well. You know, it's not just out of luck. You know, you got to know the team, you know the
Analytics.
stats, you know everything. I mean, we just watch soccer with the heart most of the time.
Because of passion.
We want to see our
Yeah,
team
yeah, yeah.
for the passion. So that's why, and I remember when it was 5 or 6 years ago, my grandma used to take me by the hand, and this is just to paint you the picture of why iGaming and the gambling culture is so strong in Brazil. Although we have no land-based casinos in Brazil, it's forbidden, it's illegal, period. However, I have to tell you a childhood story. My grandma used to just like grab me by the hand on the morning,
Mhm.
almost like once or twice per week. And she would go to this corner where there was this gentleman sitting there with a notepad in his hand, like literally like a pen and paper, and he was taking bets.
We did the same.
And my grandma would tell him, or she would tell me, Thomas, I need to go place a bet today because I had a dream of a horse
Mhm.
or I had a dream of a snake. This is a very common, considered illegal.
Mhm.
It's underground gaming, but I mean, it's what the people do. It's what people in Brazil like doing. And she will go there and put 10 cruzeiros. That's the currency we used to have in Brazil. Now it's reais. Cruzeiros, cruzados. She would put $10 on the horse, $10 on the snake.
Mhm.
And, you know, it was a big thing for her. It was her moment. This is just to illustrate to you that I've seen gambling from a childhood, which is not very nice.
I mean,
But I mean, you get exposed to it, seeing that people like it. But then in my professional career, working in the industry for the last 12 years, I think the improvement and the growth has been massive.
I see.
Massive, Igor. To the point again that the market itself, the players said, we demand a decent, fair, responsible gaming. And that's what we're getting with the current regulatory piece. I feel
Mhm.
no legislation, no regulation will be 100% from the top. You know, you can't just expect to get a perfect piece of regulation. But I feel we're doing quite well in terms of what the government and the secretaries are offering to the operators right now. It's debatable. Some people may agree, some people may disagree. But to me, in the end of the day, Ihor, it goes down to, do you believe the market you're investing on? Yes or not? If you don't believe it, if you have doubts, you shouldn't even be there.
Mhm.
Okay, because if you're launching a business in Brazil, it's because you believe in it, and if you believe in it, you have to invest.
Yeah, that's
yes
right.
or yes.
That's right. That's totally right. And the question was like last year about, oh, should we go to Brazilian market when it will be regulated and so on? And I said, why we don't go there? Like, I mean, we should miss the chance to be one of the first in this market when it will be regulated. I mean, this is also the point, to be the first in this period of time.
Makes difference.
It makes huge difference.
Yes.
Like, I mean, when everyone else will be in line, in queue, just for waiting
Yep.
some approval and so on, you will be working there with an audience and so on. And also I wanted to ask you about, like, we talked about professional life, but I also to talk about mostly about your like leadership skills, like leadership approach and so on, which shifted, I think so, shifted during these 12 years in the industry, because you've been a different team in different companies and different products. And did you see any like specific points when your leadership and your personality changed? And what is the key principles right now for you when we're talking about leadership?
Amazing question. You know, that's one of the best questions I've been asked in my life. I'll tell you what. Yes, I do believe I have leadership as a natural trait to
Mhm.
myself. However, I do believe in something called transformational
Mhm.
leadership,
Yeah.
which is when you invest in people, you help people grow by not expecting anything back or not demanding something back.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, unfortunately, you see a lot of transactional leadership approaches where, like, you give me something and I give you something back, which is understandable. But I believe that if you manage to connect, Igor, and that's what's missing, if you manage to connect to a human being
Mm-hmm.
and provided that, when it comes to then bringing them to an organization, you find that their personal goals are aligned with the company goals, you have a win-win situation for sure. Not everybody will align. Okay. I mean, and as a leader, you have to be able to, one, discern that,
Mm-hmm.
and two, be honest. So I think these are two skills or traits, whatever we want to call them, that we're lacking in leadership today, is the ability to lead, as
Mm-hmm.
in being a human being, and number two, being honest and transparent to people. We're just killing people, in other words, in every, in a frequency that's absurd, that's scary, it's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people who are not skilled enough to be in a leadership position are sitting in a leadership chair, and they just like destroying people's lives and careers just because they don't have the empathy and the ability to being honest. There's nothing better for me than honest conversations. Let me sit down with Ihor. Ihor is not doing well. Let me try to understand what's going
Why?
on.
Yeah.
What's happening, Ihor? I mean, are you not happy is the most basic question, but it goes way beyond that. So I've gone through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In my last 12 years in the industry, I've had very strong human beings, leaders,
Mm-hmm.
that really play the role in being mentors, in being people who literally grab my hand and say, Thomas, you're not doing well. And that's powerful, Ihor, because nowadays people are so entitled in saying, and people are actually afraid of giving constructive feedback.
Honest feedback, let's say. Constructive is like the second part, but give me at least honest, yeah?
It's always about ego. Am
Yes.
I gonna hurt your ego?
That's right.
Sometimes you have, not to hurt someone's ego, but just give them a reality check. And we're missing that in leadership. We're missing leaders who are able to doing this because everybody's too scared of hurting someone else's feelings, But I mean, you're not doing anybody a favor
Mhm.
when you do that. And the reason I'm saying all this to you, because this is what's been my leadership path, or my path to becoming the best possible leader I can be now. And this is not an absolute, because I'm 41 now.
Mhm.
I believe I'm the best version of myself as a human being, as a person, as a leader. But this has to evolve. It doesn't stop here. I'm not going to mention names, but I mean, in my last 12 years, I've had the pleasure and the privilege of being mentored, coached. And when I say coached, I mean hardcore coaching.
Course.
Really like sitting and telling me everything that I don't want to use the term, but I've been like effed up,
Uh-huh.
and I have to own it. But when you're honest to people, you pretty much lead them to owning stuff
Mhm.
and changing. Not because I'm telling you, because I'm your boss, but because I managed to connect to you in such a way that I will impart
Mhm.
a better version of yourself, as I'll help you build towards that.
And it's also really important to give an not only idea but the whole vision for the team. This is not like I'm a boss, you're an employee, and you should do what I will tell you. But we are in the same boat. But we have different roles in this boat to speed up this boat to achieve goals. And every one of you should know the big goal for our boat, and everyone have to know these small goals which we should achieve by like a personalities, like a team, during the way.
Yep.
And this is which like will help you to reach the goal.
Leading by example as well goes a
That's
long way.
right. It's also the same.
There's so much I can talk. I mean, I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about getting people to see their own potential. In fact, I can tell you, I used to do that on a volunteer basis as well.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story, before joining iGaming, I was a volunteer in Africa. I grew up in Brazil, and just to very quickly touch on this, when I was 20, 22 years old. I had just finished school and everything. And then there was an opportunity for me to, through this NGO, go to South Africa and do some social work, volunteer work. So that's how I ended up in Africa. It was supposed to be 6 months, which became 10 years. And a lot of the community work that we did there was speaking purposes into people's life. We all have issues, but the places that we've been to around Africa, north of South Africa, south of Mozambique, people were lacking a basic perception of a sense of belonging, of what they can achieve. And we felt like we would make a difference by speaking to them, by empowering them. And interesting enough, being positioned in South Africa, in Cape Town at the time, allowed me an opportunity to join an iGaming company. So I joined in 2011, a company based in Cape Town, and I joined to be a Portuguese and Spanish call center agent. So then that's when my iGaming intensive course, because I don't think there's a school or university that will get you an iGaming degree. Well, there's some courses you can do around maths, game maths. I know there's in Reno, there's a university there in California. But I think like for professionals like us and most of the leaders in the industry I know, everybody has been shaped by working in the industry, by being a call center agent, by being an iGaming dealer or a live dealer, or just being exposed to the industry. So this is just a bit of an interesting story, and that's how I started, being a call center host.
I see. Awesome. And you mentioned a bit of empowering people by conversation. How do you think this, first of all, empowering people is really important, but how to empower people in a proper way that they will lead another teammates, lead themselves to achieve the goals? How do you think, what will be the key ingredient in empowering people just to make them strengthen in a long period of time?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most, if not the most important aspect is honesty. You really have to be able to have honest conversations with your people. If you yourself as a leader, you're not doing that, and you have a team reporting to you, there's probably something missing. I'm not going to be arrogant in saying there's something missing because I don't own the truth, but it's very likely that there's something missing there. I think everything sparks from there. From those conversations, you understand how well aligned that person is with your goals, with your company goals when it comes to teams and coaching. And you don't have to call it coaching. You don't have to call it one-on-ones. You know what I like to do, Ihor, a lot, and I'm probably going to give away one of my trade secrets here, but I don't mind. I don't set up one-on-ones. I don't set up meetings. I don't set up coaching sessions. I don't set up, let me mentor you. I mean,
how do you talk
ridiculous
with people?
I think that speaks a bit of arrogance in my perspective. I just call them up out of the blue for coffee. Like someone, it's simple. There's so many formulas going out there and coach selling you ways and methods and the 7 steps to success. Someone's working with me, I say, let's go for lunch, or there's this nice restaurant, or, well, they have really good coffee. We love coffee in Brazil, of course. And then a conversation always stirs up.
Yep.
And you get to understand who this person really is, what their dreams are, what their goals are. And then you begin having a perception, Ihor, is this more or less what I'm expecting from them when they start talking about their professional ambitions and career goals? I also think that one thing that we need to determine is there's a very thin line between confidence and arrogance. People tend to confuse them a lot, and you do, especially for people that you want to put in charge of other people.
Such a great point.
No, but you need to be able to see this as a leader, because again, your team will grow. If you're doing your job right, your team will grow.
That's right.
And you're going to need someone sitting in your chair very soon. So who's that going to be? Is that person a good leader, or are they trying to just gain space or gain a title or something? So I think this is a skill that comes out of intuition as well. It comes out of being connected to yourself first, and also getting a sense of the other person, because that person that you might be looking at to becoming a leader, to take over your chair, might very well, and even unaware,
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, destroy or not give the best destination to your team or to the entire work you've done if they don't have the right people skills.
That's right. Yeah, team is everything, and I mean, working with the team is like kind of magic. You have to shape yourself to be, like you said, a coach, a mentor, a leader for the team. It's like 100%. And also, which is like the really important part of the life for all of the leaders and all of the like high performing people, is their routine and their hobbies, where they feed up with an energy.
Yep.
How they spend their free time, let's call it free time. And I mean, it's a bit cliche, but work-life balance, right? And what do you do in your free time just to feed up with an energy yourself?
I used to play soccer a lot, a lot. I grew up playing like soccer 3-4 times a day. It's a passion. Playing with friends. That's one thing. I mean, I don't get to do anymore, like not 3 or 4 times. But there's something, I mean, I believe in self-discipline, in a very strong way as well. But I like going to gym. I'm overweight, to my expected and correct weight for my height. But I'm still disciplined. I wake up in the morning. I go to gym. I find time for myself. I find focus time, and then I make sure I'm ready to tackle the challenges for the day to my absolute best. As for hobbies, I mean, I'm a musician as well.
Awesome.
I studied
what the instrument do you play?
drums,
Drums.
percussions. I've studied African jazz. I've studied Latin American music, salsa, Cuban salsa, all sorts of salsa. I went for them because I found they were the most difficult rhythms to learn off the beat. I mean, salsa, because I mean it's a complete different beat. It's offbeat in a lot of ways, and jazz as well, because the way it breaks down, I like it, and I like rhythm. So I do have some percussion instruments at my place. I don't have everything I would like to have, because percussion is like the world.
Yeah.
And because I lived in Africa as well, my passion for percussion instruments just grew. Now I have a djembe, I have congas, I have tambourine. I had an acoustic drum set, but it wasn't ideal because my neighbor wasn't very happy. And now I have an electronic drum kit.
It's better for them, yeah.
Well, it is better, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you drum yourself.
Yeah, I heard the difference. Yeah,
The feeling,
Yeah.
like hitting a real acoustic drums, it's never the same as when you have an electronic kit. But of course, I mean, we live in society, we live in the city, so everybody has to respect boundaries. But I think that's important, Ihor. You have to have a life. We're not androids, we're not robots. I mean, high performance it's very important. It's the goal. It's where everybody wants to be. But you exist as a person as well. There's something called personal health that you must be aware of, and mental health as well. So I mean, if you don't have those in check, it's very unlikely that you're going to be a high performer. That's how I see it.
That's totally right. And it's kind of tradition here in this podcast that I'm asking all of the guests about the quote or sentence or story. It can be story that have changed you or shifted your mindset in some way. Then, which is more important, it's how it changed you or how it shifted your mindset. If you can share something like that.
Yeah. I mean, off the top of my mind, one thing I can tell you, I mean, I can think of many, 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 but I think one that's really always got me in check is, let me see how I translate this, because I'm thinking in Portuguese now. You think, you believe what's the best version of yourself. You have an idea of that. Or let me do the opposite here. This is my best version. and this is my worst version. And the best version includes academic training, includes discipline, focus, and everything. And I know my worst possible version, which is slacking, lack of discipline, lack of focus, just like pushing through. It's very clear to me what's my worst and what's my best. But the danger for me and the biggest enemy of my best version is not my worst version, because they're so clear to me. I think the worst enemy and the worst pitfall is actually the good, the comfortable version of me, the comfort zones, because it's like a blind spot when you're there. You know, you think you're doing well, you think you're the cream of la creme, something like this, you know, and if you don't have someone in your life helping you out, coaching you, mentoring you, showing you the blind spots you don't see, it's very dangerous. You might fall back into the worst version of yourself without even realizing. So a quote for me, and I try my best to translate here, is the biggest enemy of your best possible version, it's not your worst possible version, it's your good version, it's your comfort zone. So always have check marks to check on this. Always have people that can speak in your life to ensure that you're constantly on path for your best possible version. And that's a never going thing. It's an evolution. It's not a final destination.
That's right.
As long as we're alive, we're driving towards that.
It's really it's really important to have a people that will not only direct you in some way, but also, like you said, support you with their opinion on what you're doing right, or maybe not doing right. And which is also really important, I guess, for all of the people when they hear that, right? Not to think about, fuck, this man is bad because he taught me truth. But not truth, but something bad for me right now. But, you know, it's going to be the truth. And after that, you have to realize that it's not something that's going to make a hurt for you, but it helps you if you will analyze that and maybe add it to your values or change it in some ways.
Absolutely.
And it like shifted you in some way, in some better way, to, like you said, to better version of yourself.
Spot on. That's how I see it as well.
Yeah. Awesome, Thomas. Thank you for sharing everything, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Ihor. Thank you for the invitation. Always a pleasure chatting to you. All
Thanks.
the best of success to you too.
Thank you so much.